Hello everybody, Christian from Treasure Town here, and I'm on campus, but I'm really excited to bring to you today's video, which is a $500,000 auction preview of rare coins. We're going to be talking to Charles Jonath with Vegas Coin Dealer Auctions. They're going to be doing this sale at the Fall Long Beach Expo, or that's when the dates close, but we're going to do a sort of lot viewing remotely and talk to Charles about how he's constructed this auction and what he's thinking about. So let's get right over to the presentation. Going to have lots of photos of the coins and his perspective on how he's creating his first ever auction. Obviously, it'll be fun to check back in and see the results and get the thoughts at that point, but yeah, let's go to the coins. Thanks for joining us, Charles. Really excited to talk these coins through and just generally get your perspective on this auction. I think it's a super fun video format idea, and thankful that you're willing to make this happen. So first, I'm just curious sort of how this auction came about. There's over $500,000 it looks like in estimates, and it'll be exciting. But yeah, how did you decide to start in the auction business?
It's very interesting. It's actually not something I initially wanted to do. Vegas Coin Dealer, when I started it, it was mainly to do buying and selling direct sales of like high-end U.S. numismatics. It sort of branched off from the coin shop that we had, Alex and Son Coins, to deal with a specific set of clients that we had. And I was moving to Las Vegas, so it just, I thought of the most generic name possible, Vegas Coin Dealer. And I'm like, okay, we'll just set up a business here. But, just like anything it seems I've been doing, is it sort of snowballed and built into a bigger business. I started focusing solely on dealing on high-end numismatics with my clients. And that's kind of how the auction came about as well. I started getting requests from clients to dabble with some of their pieces in an auction, and I kind of made some recommendations of auction houses that I thought they should consign to, and then if they wanted to experiment. And they kind of put pressure on me to sort of do a sale, and then I took some time and I thought about it, and I'm like, well, if my clients want it, why not give it a shot? I know it's a lot of work putting together an auction. It's a whole other business. It's different completely. I feel than direct sales. So it's not a small undertaking, and I wanted to give it a little time and think it through. And then I thought if I was going to do auctions, I would do them selectively, like one or two a year. And then I would, have it a very small lot size and focus on like a couple choice pieces and really showcase those the best way I thought possible. And then just to have everything very straightforward to where there was, the shipping was very nominal compared to the price of the items, and there was no hidden fees. It's just a straight buyer's premium on top of whatever the hammer price is, and it's good to go.
Yeah, and so what would you say the overall philosophy of the items you're offering? They're higher quality, and so just fees is premium and shipping. How did you think about constructing, like, there's different, certain auction houses will just have seller's fees or just have a buyer's premium. What is the buyer's premium, and how did you view, there's probably a lot of costs involved in doing an auction like this too.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we decided on a 20% buyer's premium, and that's largely, as you said, the cost of running the auction and the fact that we probably won't be doing many auctions per year, if at all, right? So let's say we have two a year, and then also helping out our clients. We do offer very generous fees. We cut our clients in essentially on the buyer's premium. So there's that, and then plus the cost of the marketing and the software and everything that goes into the back office, let's say, becomes costly. So a 20% buyer's premium was kind of essential for what we were doing. We couldn't really make it on a 10% buyer's premium or a 5% buyer's premium.
Yeah. And maybe we jump into the lots because I think that's what probably a lot of the viewers are also interested in, can ask questions about how you're structuring the auction as we go through it. This first one
Absolutely.
is, yeah, unless there's something you wanted to say before we start.
No, I think we should get straight into it. They're great coins.
Yeah, no, that was something that stood out to me. This first lot is a $2.50 gold coin, so like a quarter eagle. AU58 looks very pleasing. Clark Gruber, so it was a territorial gold from Colorado, the Pikes Peak Gold Rush from 1858 to 1861, and not many of these were produced, but estimates in the low, sort of 12 to $15,000. Yeah, why did you decide to make this the first coin, and then do you have any other comments about it specifically?
Yeah, sure. So this is a coin that's from one of our clients who collects these pieces, and I built several sets for him in Clark Gruber, and I could tell you, like, having to put together a whole complete Clark Gruber set, whether it would be an 1860 set or an 1861 set, it's incredibly difficult to do. To get the quality, and just especially if you want to be choosy, like if you really want to be picky on quality and character of the coins, because as you know, I'm sure some of the territorial pieces, they've been heavily used over the years, and it's very hard to have mint state or near mint state examples that haven't been cleaned or tampered with, or have some kind of like damage, structural damage in the coin. So just being really choosy about these pieces is very difficult, and to put together complete sets, it took us time, though. Even though we had the budget to do it, still it was difficult for us to even find the coins in that quality. So having to put together these sets and knowing how incredibly difficult it is, anytime a really nice Clark Gruber comes up for sale, I always think it's a good deal. And I wanted to showcase it as number one. I thought it would be good for that. It's it's a $2.50 Clark Gruber piece, which was actually one of the harder ones for me to obtain, believe it or not, when I put together that set. I decided to put it first because I think it's a great coin, and if anyone's trying to build an 1861 Clark Gruber set, you're going to need this coin, and it's a really nice AU example. So
Definitely. Maybe we'll move in helpful perspective to this next coin. I think it's maybe one of the only proof copper coins that is featured, with a very low, I think sub 250 mintage, but 1857 braided hair, large cent with a pretty high estimate as well. Some terminal toning on the back, but it seems like very bright on the front. Are there any special comments you have on this coin?
yeah, so this coin, it came from a client that collects early copper. He acquired the coin recently, and wanted to shift around his set to try and put together something else. He's thinking about maybe doing a seated $50 set. So he's kind of wants to sort of divest of some of his earlier copper proofs, and then try and put together another set. So he decided, okay, we'll put this coin up for auction because he thought it was just a really nice example. It's got a cool effect to it. I mean, if you look at the coin in hand, the obverse of the coin almost looks like a red. I mean, it just has a really nice color to it. It really stands out, and then it's got a cool contrast. Like if you go to the reverse of the coin, you'll see it has like really pretty toning, and then in person, it really pops. Like it's a cool contrast. It almost looks like the coin really stands out when you hold it in hand, and then having that contrast has like a really cool effect to it. I really like this coin, and then the small date is a little tougher to find in a really nice proof example like that, like a proof 65 red brown.
Definitely. And that I want to ask that question in conjunction with this next coin, the 1799 Drape Bust dollar, which is the, B7 BB 156, this Soul Top Pop for that variety. Do you think that,
Yes.
curious on your thoughts on the coin in general, but are there people who are trying to put together full variety? Is there a big premium for being the sole top pop of a variety, or like on the previous one, it's a slightly tougher date? How many collectors do you think, are there collectors who are really willing to pay up for something where it might be, oh, it's like the variety maybe isn't crazy hard to find, but it's like a nicer example of a variety? Is that something that you think about in what the overall price should be?
Yeah, so absolutely. Like the thing with varieties is there are collectors that are trying to build complete sets of these. Especially they're part of the club that follows the John Wright Journal. There are many collectors of the early American coinage. It's a well-established community, and finding varieties is tough. Like sometimes people have to wait to find a specific variety in order to complete a set, and then having a top pop example is always great.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see how this does. I found it in terms of private sale, not specifically for auction, but more for private sale. It can be a bit all over the place in my experience with varieties. Sometimes, if it's a specific variety that people already have, it can be more difficult to sell than a non-variety.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's a more desirable variety and a top pop example, sometimes you get a hefty premium. So it sort of all depends. But I really think that coins like these are probably better suited for an auction, just because you get it in front of a wide audience, and then if you get multiple people that need to complete sets with varieties, then you wind up getting a better price, I think, in the end for a coin like this. So I think it was a smart decision for him to decide to put it in auction, and we'll see how it does. I'm just as curious as everybody else to see what the final result's going to be.
Yeah, and do you think that, it seems this Drape Bust dollar so far ahead of the next one, for the, 62. I thought you said the next might have been like a 55 or something like that.
Right.
Yeah,
I believe so. Yeah, I'm not 100% positive off the top of my head, but when you look at this coin, Christian, it's just, I mean, having seen many early dollars, it's just a beautiful coin. I mean, it's an early dollar with natural luster, which you know how difficult that is to find, and it just has beautiful toning to it. I love the color of the toning. I mean, it's almost like a Jackson Pollock painting. I mean, it's crazy when you look at it, and it's toned nicely on both sides.
Yeah. No.
So if you look at the obverse of the coin, it's hard to see in some of the pictures, but this actually coin has a really nice true view. I think maybe the true view example is better than the photographs that were taken through the plastic.
Mm-hmm.
But you could see the detail in the reverse of the coin, and it's just amazing. It's virtually a full shield on there, and then the imprints of the strike and the states.
Totally.
It's just incredible. It's really pretty coin.
Maybe we'll move on to a few of the, it's a seated Liberty Quarter, 1846 in a Proof 64 CAC approved with a mintage of 12. And then after that, there's one with, a mintage of 10 and a survival estimate of 8. That's an 1843 seated Liberty half dime. The estimates on these are much higher than some of the slightly later proofs. And I assume that has to do with their very low mintages, but what do you think the collector appetite for those two coins, the 1846 SLQ, or it's seated Liberty Quarter, and the 1843 seated Liberty half dime?
Right. So on lot 4, the 1846 quarter, that is like right on the borderline of being, it's still considered an early proof. So like for me, I'm a lover of early proofs, and I have clients that I kind of got into that as well. I just think, the history behind it, these are coins that, you had to really write the mint to get. a proof set. It wasn't that hard, and you paid a hefty premium at the time. I mean, it was a coin that was collected by a collector in 1846, which to me is like very cool because it's a history of collecting coins, right? The original gentleman that probably purchased this was, a collector of coins in 1846. So it's just a great coin. It's cool. It's got cool history. It has beautiful toning to the coin. The coin is really nicely toned. It's not too dark for a richly toned early proof, which is awesome. Obviously it's in an old green holder, which people love nowadays, and CAC approved the coin. So it's just if you're gonna get an early proof and not have to spend the money of like the 1830s proof, and you wanted to get an 1840s proof, this would be the coin to buy.
Mm-hmm. And how does that change with the 1843? Do you think 43 is still the same sort of range in terms of it's just early but not inaccessibly early proof?
Yeah, well, the earlier the date, I think the better. Like if you're, an 1843 proof is a little bit then harder to obtain, right?
Mm-hmm.
This coin, I don't believe, has been on the market for about 20 years in the auction block. So it came out of an old collection. Someone had this a really long time and then eventually sold it to my client who had it for a few years. And now it's going to hit the auction block. And, just anyone who wants like a great halftime set or any type of early proof. I mean, when coins like these come up on the market, it's always a good option to buy it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, that's it'll be fun to see what the price realized. The next one is a Norris, territorial California near the San Francisco area is where it was struck. So right in that, for all the viewers, 49ers, like that's the gold rush era. 1849, I think, is the best known date surrounding that gold rush near San Francisco. But they had to substitute and had to make their own gold so that they could use it and mint it into coinage. And I assume a lot of this sort of territorial gold would have been melted. But do you have any commentary on the specific history of this coin? Whether history?
Yeah. So being a Norris like this in 1849, it's still in debate, but pretty much from what the records show, this is probably the first coinage that was made during the gold rush. Because, it took them, even though they discovered the gold, I believe, in 1848, it took them a while before they could actually get enough equipment out there to start minting coins. And some of the first batches are believed to be these Norris coins. So this is just, it's a piece of numismatic history. It's a stunning example for what it is, Like anytime... I hate to sound like a broken record, but if you deal in territorials and you see a lot of these coins, it's so difficult to find them that look like this. I mean, this coin is all natural. You could tell it hasn't been preserved or anything like that. It's in its natural state. It's still got that rich gold color to it. I mean, the strike is all there. It's a choice AU example of this piece, and then anytime you want to dabble into territorials, like you're not dabbling at this point. This is like you have one of the better examples of a Norris,
nice,
especially a 5. So it would be a great coin to purchase for anybody.
For sure.
These are one of the coins you want to buy, and if you can afford it, just put in your safe and forget about.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I think that
you know what I mean?
Yeah. No. Speaking of the affordability, our next coin, lot 7, is the Humbert Slug, $50. It's like 2.5 ounces or near that of gold. One of the iconic gold rush artifacts that's really well known. It's graded mint state 61. Estimate is in the low 200s, thousands. And some of your commentary, you think it might be more in the 63 range, that sort of grade. But would be interested in any commentary on this one, and how you and your clients thought about auctioning something this valuable. Starting out with these sorts of coins in the first auction.
Yeah, so that's wow. Okay, this is my favorite coin in the wholesale because it's just I mean, it's an iconic coin, right? The Humbert is a classic. It's just a big hunk of gold, which is just, it attracts you right away to these type of coins in general, I believe, you know. And then having seen many of Humbert, I've been fortunate enough to see many of these coins up in person. When you have that experience, you can really cherish like how special this coin is. Like when I'm looking at Humberts, one of the first things I look for in a Humbert is the edges of the coin, right? So on here, on this example, if you could see it up close, all the edges like are virtually all intact. They're pretty much all intact, which is incredibly difficult to find on any Humbert, right? Even in the AU to Mint State examples, there are Mint State examples of Humberts with damaged edges. You know, and then you got to realize that if you're looking at the eagle there, when they made the dies on these coins, the dies were incredibly weak. So it's not uncommon to find a Mint State example would look like a soft or not much details coming out in the breast of the eagle, the lower ends of the eagle. So that's pretty much normal in a lot of these examples. But if you see it has all natural color to it, you know, the coin pretty much hasn't been preserved, and all the edges are original to it. All the strike is there. You look at the reverse of the coin, and the detail you see there is just, it's awesome. It's you don't see these on Humberts like this. And if you look in this specific the reeded edge, right? This specific type of Humbert, this specific variety, you'll see there is a Mint 63 example, which in my personal opinion is not as nice as this coin. It's just not. You know, you look at the edges of that coin compared to this coin, all the edges here are intact, where there's structural curves in the edges of the 63, and the color is not the same. It just doesn't have that rich gold originality to it, you know? Yeah. That rich gold color to it.
No, that's awesome.
So, I mean, for me, this coin is just an amazing coin. It's worth every penny. You know, like I said, you can't, to me, you can't go wrong buying this coin and then sticking it in your vault.
Well, thanks for that perspective. No, it'll be, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing all the results. And the next one, I thought this was interesting. You know, you mentioned it had sold in 2016 at Heritage for about $91,000. This 1904S Barber half dollar, super flashy, I would imagine. Say 67 CAC approved, has some really cool provenance in terms of the collections it's been in. But, you know, do you have more perspective on it? And you know, how do you think the person consigning it felt about going back through you versus a different auction venue?
Oh, that's a good question. It's a two-part question. I'll start out by the coin itself. I think, you know, it's an incredible coin. Obviously, it's you know, an 04S is a little bit more difficult, and you know, it's a 67, which for, you know, a Mint State Barber like that, I mean, it's got to be near top pop, I would imagine. If you look at, I mean, it's a former Sherman Norweb, so the coin has got great pedigree to it. It's a choice example of what it is. It's been CAC approved. It's got beautiful toning to the coin. Like, it's just, the eye appeal is really strong on this coin. So if you wanted to buy like a high-end Barber half, right, this would be a coin for you. You know, you got a 67 example that's CAC approved, 04S, a little bit of a better date. I mean, yet again, it's these coins are kind of like no-brainers, you know?
Yeah.
So as far as like what the consignor want, I mean, I'm new to this whole thing. So I'm just starting out doing auctions, and I think, you know, it was incredible that they wanted me to do a sale as opposed to handing it off to anybody else. I mean, I think it's just, it's probably the relationship I have with my clients. I feel that I'm very fortunate that they put a lot of trust in me to do these things, even though I would have totally been happy had they would have put this in any other sale, like a Heritage or Legend, for example. Stax Bowers, any one of them would have been sufficient to obviously auction off a coin like this, and probably better suited in some ways. But my clients, put heavy emphasis that they want me to put it in the sale. So that's kind of where we're at. I mean, this whole thing got started based on, my clients pushing me to do this auction, and me ultimately deciding to say, okay.
Yeah, no, it's fun to document this process in a video and sort of talk through it. I think, yeah, again, I don't want to I don't want to be a broken record either, saying that it'll be fun to see how things go. But I thought this was
No, absolutely.
yeah, the next one, and then I think some of the ones later on I'll speed through a little bit more, but this one still has a high value estimate. 1858 seated Liberty Quarter, proof 66. It looks like it's got some really cool blue toning on it. One of the first coins sold more to the collecting public with a lower mintage of 100. But do you think that high value is just a function of the very high end condition that the coin is in?
Yeah, so it's a couple things, right? It's the condition of the coin, the eye appeal of the coin. The coin really pops in hand. I mean, it shoots out of a case. Like whenever you put it in the case, it's something your eye will gravitate towards. It just has a beautiful aesthetic to it. It's a great example. It's a really nice example of proof 66, which is just on the starting end of the high end proofs, right? The 66. It's CAC approved, obviously. So, I mean, it's just a great coin. And whenever you're buying, relatively on the borderline of being an early proof like this, uh, a proof coin like that, and then that's CSC approved with great eye appeal. I mean, those are the coins you want to buy. Those are the ones that are in competition right now. I mean, in the terms of these type of coins, everyone wants something that's high grade CSC approved. It seems.
Yeah. No, awesome. Thanks for that perspective. I think some of the other ones, so I'll just sort of speed through a few of them. 1883 Morgan silver dollar with some nice toning, proof 64. We have a proof 63 X Centennial collection. I'll have a question on that, but curious your decision making in terms of coupling some of the coins with an estimate and the value mid estimate like $700. A few lots away from something that's selling for 220,000. Is that sort of to give different collectors different opportunities, or
Absolutely.
how did you think about that?
I thought we would pepper in some coins of a lower value, in order to get more participation and excitement over the auction. It helps with things, I believe.
Yeah, and
it's cool. Some of these coins are really nice, actually, for what they are. I mean, the 1879 proof is a really nice proof in hand if you see it, and then even the '01, like in the old green holder, is a really cool coin. Actually, I really like the coin. It has awesome rim toning. These would be like one of the coins I first when I first started getting into trying to put together my own sets and stuff like that. Like the '01 would be a coin I would have loved to have, in that set, because it's really aesthetically pleasing. It's got that old green PCGS holder, and the rim toning on it is it's killer.
Yeah, no, that's great. I'm trying to think of the paquet design on the proof. I think probably going to be much more affordable with the scratch, which I'm not even seeing on here, but I assume it's there somewhere. Or
that's the thing. Like, so I mean, it's a very cool coin. I love pattern coins, and this is a really desirable pattern, and it's a shame, like, because of the scratch or whatever they gave it a details, but you could see it's aesthetically pleasing coin, and all you could see everything there, which is great. I mean, it's just a great way to buy this coin if you can't spend $6,000 to $7,000 on a natural example as opposed to a details example. So it's a great pattern coin for someone that's on a budget.
Totally. And I think that's a really fascinating area of collecting that I'd like to get more involved with. Now, I did notice this 1878 seated Liberty dime is estimated more towards 4,000, when the 1887 is more like 400 to 800. Is that just like a function of the date, or do you know why that value is so much more?
So, like it's a really good example. It starts to get into higher grades. And then, if you want to put together a set of these proof, these dimes, right? You, it's just it's a really nice hole filler for a set of dimes.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a really nice example for what it is. It's not dark. It's just if you need an 1887, now you have an option to buy one.
Yeah, no, that's great. And then I think the last item is so fascinating, already exceeding its estimate several weeks out on the low end. And I would assume, I don't know much about the ingots, but given that it's a government issued U.S. mint one, that's why it's going to be so expensive. It's got the Type 3 hallmark. It's a 27 ounce, super chunky and old feeling, I would imagine. So do you have any commentary on this? And then also to wrap things up, anything I might have missed?
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, a couple things. One about the bar, and then also about VCD, or Vegas Coin Dealer, doing auctions. So this lot is a good segue into the second part of that as well. So I'll start out by saying, well, the Philadelphia Mint. So this right after the war, in 1846, most of these bars got all melted down to make our coinage. So this being an actual official assay bar and coming out like that for Philadelphia is the more rarer mint for these type of bars. It's more common to have an SF mint bar than it is a Philadelphia mint bar. And I've seen several. I've been lucky enough to see a few of these, and this is the largest example I've ever seen. Like, this one is 27.88 ounces, like that. I mean, that's really hard to find in a Philly mint bar. And it's just, if you're into bars, it's just a really cool, like, gritty, aesthetically pleasing bar. Like, it's very cool. Like, I put it in the case, and everyone asked me questions about it. They're like, "Oh, what's that bar?" It's it's a conversation starter too. You know what I mean? It's just a great bar. It's an excellent bar, and it's no surprise to me that it's going for the price it's going for. I believe there was one other example that sold in a heritage sale. I think it wound up with the buyer's premium being somewhere around 50 something thousand. And it's actually, this has more silver in the bar. This one's a little bit heavier,
Mm-hmm.
by maybe an ounce or so, if I can recall correctly.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a really great bar, and I'm curious to see what it'll do, since I'm a newer auction, and it's probably not going to have as much coverage as it would have in a heritage sale. But still, irregardless of it being me being a new auction, the bar is going to still go for a really competitive, right in the range that it should be in, right?
Yeah.
So that's great, and ultimately, what we decided, what we wanted to do with our auction platform going forward, is to actually make it a focus on more unique items and not do a lot of type coins. So even though, like, this auction, our first auction, is more coin heavy, I think going forward, if we continue to do auctions, it would be more bar heavy or ingot heavy, and just unique items, maybe like cool patterns or stuff like that. It would be less type coins per se.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Great. Well, that's all awesome to hear. I'm sure we'll be in touch in the future. I think it's great to have your perspective on these 16 lots. And 3 weeks until we see what all this stuff realizes. Really helpful to have perspective from somebody who's been dealing and transacting in this, just freely available on my video that will be produced. And I want to thank you for joining today.
Absolutely. Thank you, Christian. It's always a pleasure, and I look forward to speaking with you.
Thanks for watching the video. Be sure to like, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to Treasure Town, and get in touch with me on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Also, check out my website, treasuretowncoins.com, for news and updates related to the channel and collectibles in general. Lastly, there's a link tree in the description with links to all of my other sites as well as some affiliate links that can support the channel. But with that being said, have a great day and I'll hope to see you on some of my videos in the future.